$2 Tuesdays at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, where you can get the hottest handicappers' best bet or daily package for only $2.
All right, here we go. Welcome in. Time for another edition of the College Basketball Tip-Off Show, powered by WagerTalk.com. It is March 2nd. I can already feel the madness around me. Welcome in here, guys. We've got 4 games that we are going to break down for you here today. 4 great games, too, as we get ready to wind down the season. Welcome in conference play, and those games will include here today a little Baylor University. You may have heard of them, taking on West Virginia. Also, Illinois, Michigan, going to be a big matchup tonight. Duke, Georgia Tech. Well, Duke's on the show. It's got to be Rob VENO's here at some point. We also have Auburn taking on Alabama. Plus, our friends at the Gold Sheet will stop by with a play and our best bets. And, of course, we are going to break all of these games down with 3 of the absolute finest handicappers at WagerTalk.com. Let's bring them in here. We got Tony Mejia in the house. Look at that, Rob VENO. What a shocker. Rob VENO is here, and the man below, my neighbor downstairs, Ralph Michaels. Take a look at the Twitter handles here, guys. Always a great follow on all of these. At Mejia Dinero, at Rob VENO Sports, at CalSportsLI. And Tony Mejia, welcome in, my man. I can't believe it. It's March 2nd. Madness is almost upon us here, my friend. How you been, and what do you got going on at WagerTalk.com today?
Hey, it's $2 Tuesday, Joe. Good to see you. And I am the $2 handicapper. So yes, you can buy preferred NBA play, and for the price of coffee I saw was the promo, which is great because I'm Colombian, and everybody knows Colombian coffee is the best. So good stuff there. And college, I've been on a bit of a run as well. I mean, I keep losing the 2% plays, but cashed 2 5% plays, one in the NBA and one in college over the weekend. So it's been a good run there. And just heating up. Hey, we're in March. We've been talking about it for the last 2 months, trying to get to March. Here we are. So very excited and happy to be here with all you guys.
Not that I'm arguing, but I do have a couple of Cuban friends here in Miami that might argue with the comment about the coffee. I am just saying, they might have a little problem with the Colombian coffee being better. Rob VENO, what is going on, my man? Welcome in. What a shock. Duke is on the card here today, which means you are here, and I can't wait to hear when we get to that game whether or not you trust them yet. But talk to me here, Rob. What's it been like, college hoops for you, and what do you got going on at Wager Talk today?
College hoops has been great, Joe. I don't know that I can catch my esteemed colleague Steve Merrill for a top slot, but we are number 2 at Wager Talk in college basketball so far this season. So it's been good. It's been really good to me. The card will be up and available, I would say, about 60 minutes after the show, Joe. There's a couple of NBA things I have to go over still, and there's a couple of college hoops that I like. So we'll have it all ready, up and ready to go, probably around noon Pacific time. No problem. But the college baskets last night, we snuck by with a first half play on Oklahoma minus a half a point. They led Oklahoma State by 1 point at the half, thank goodness, and then Oklahoma State did their damage from there out. But look forward to today's card. Glad to be here with everybody. Tuesdays are always fun, so ready to get at it.
Yeah, and listen, Ralph, it's almost tip-off time, I believe, 2 p.m. Eastern right now here as we are live with you guys. Tip-off, I believe, Akron, Buffalo getting the day started already. I know you've been hard at work, Ralph, on the college basketball stat sheet, conference time coming up. Tell us about it.
Well, off a 2-0 day yesterday, so came out of my disastrous weekend. Tony, if you think your coffee's the best, I'm German, so I would say that I have to drink beer. Okay, I already got that covered. So never mind.
I knew he was bringing Schnitzel into this. I knew Schnitzel was showing up somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, guys, you know, the college basketball stat report is updated. It got updated Monday, so all the stats through Sunday are included. Now you're in conference tournament time. Downloaded for free on my page, wt.buzz/RM or wagertalk.com. I go to the Ralph Michaels page. And the NBA stat sheet, 6 straight best bet winners, and now 20-6 on the free best bets I put on there. That's posted each day on my Twitter and on my homepage at wagertalk.com.
All right, good stuff there, guys. Once again, it is $2 Tuesday at WagerTalk.com, and that neighbor to my left, right, not sure where he was, but Tony Mejia, $2 handicapper right now. Go get his best bet NBA play tonight. $2. Go grab it right now at WagerTalk.com. Gentlemen, let us start in the Big 12, 5 p.m. Eastern Time tip-off, a game that is finally getting ready to start here, and that is Baylor at West Virginia. I believe this was, Tony, two or three times this game had been canceled prior. It looks like it's finally happening. And look at that, Baylor coming off a loss. It opened up at 3.5, total at 149.5. So talk to me here. Who do you like in this matchup that finally might happen?
Well, I mean, for Baylor, it's an opportunity to show that what happened against Kansas was an aberration. But they really have struggled to get started since getting back off their COVID pause. It doesn't look like the same team. So does that translate to a faster paced game simply because they want to get rhythm? And you know that West Virginia wants to run. I saw that some money was coming in on the under here, thinking that maybe because of the importance of the game, we'll see more defense. I'm for sure that Bob Huggins wants to run, because that's really where West Virginia has taken off over the past few weeks. But last year's meetings were both unders. The most recent one was a 76-64 West Virginia win in Morgantown last March 7th. Shebue was around for the Mountaineers. He's obviously transferred to Kentucky. So it's an entirely different team that West Virginia has there in terms of how they play. But there's a lot of the personnel back. So that to me is why my lean would be towards the high side, simply because I think that this particular West Virginia team is at its best running, and Baylor probably wants to get the cobwebs out after a really ugly loss.
It's going to be an important month here, Rob, for both of these storied programs. Could be just an all-time, one of the history could look back at this and be favorable for both of these schools. But big game here tonight. Who do you like in it?
Yeah, it's interesting, Joe. I guess the first thing you have to start with is what Tony mentioned, and it's hard. It's guesswork. Will Baylor bounce back? I mean, the two games that they've played since that 21-day pause have not been overwhelming whatsoever. Barely get by Iowa State, get smashed by Kansas. In fact, in that particular game against Kansas, they shot their lowest field goal percentage of the season, 34.8. They were out-rebounded by 20, so they were beaten soundly in most every aspect of that game. Now, Scott Drew, the head coach, seems to think they'll be fine, and they just need to get into rhythm, and maybe, as Tony said, rhythm means running up and down the floor with West Virginia. But I'll say this, I'm going to take the approach that Baylor does bounce back here, Joe. I think they're too talented to go ahead and lay a third egg in a row, even though this is at a tough venue in Morgantown against a tough-nosed team that has shown the ability to come back, win games at the end this season. But there's two keys to me that really seem to favor Baylor. If you can keep West Virginia or limit them from the three-point line, and if you can keep them off of the free throw line, their options are limited. They're not a good two-point shooting team. In fact, the effective field goal percentage gap between these two squads is, I think it's 8%. I think I saw 57% for Baylor, number 3 in the nation, 49% for West Virginia, somewhere in the high 200s in the nation. So West Virginia, and their games it's easier said than done. West Virginia games turn into foul fests almost all the time, both ways. They're not an especially good foul shooting team. So we'll see if they can convert, but they do rely on free throws for a lot of their points. So for Baylor, I would say get on the three-point line, try not to foul. On the other side of the coin, you could say the same for West Virginia. However, Baylor's just got too many weapons in my mind from beyond the arc, and they're way better at shooting from two-point range. So to me, Baylor's the more rounded offensive team. I think they're both very comparable statistically in almost all areas when you go up and down. As you said, Joe, 3 times they've tried to play this game. They haven't been able to. They'll play it now. I think Baylor gets back into rhythm here, though, tonight, and I think they outscore West Virginia, win the game by, I think we're looking at 4.5 when I last checked before we came on. I would lay it with Baylor.
It's interesting, Ralph, because timing is everything. You're looking at a West Virginia squad that, outside of, I think, a 1-point overtime loss to Oklahoma, would have been perfect in the month of February. And here's this Baylor coming off of 2 very suspect games. Timing is everything. Current form for both of these teams. Who do you trust?
Well, my money says West Virginia. I already bet West Virginia. This is one of my client plays. I'll have a different best bet, but this is one of the 3 plays that I used today. And quite simply this. Now, Scott Drew at the end of the season is going to say, I am very thankful we lost this game. It takes the pressure out of being undefeated, and we can relax a little bit. We don't have to worry about a perfect season because you know what? Would you rather go undefeated until the championship game and lose, or lose the game and win the championship? There's no question, you want to win the championship. But, Baylor didn't play from February 2nd to February 23rd. They came back and they allowed Iowa State, a team that's 0-15 in the Big 12, to shoot 48%. They then go to Kansas and they allow 51%. Well, that defense intensity is gone. Are you going to be able to change that defensive intensity from Saturday when you played at Kansas and then you traveled to Morgantown on Sunday? I don't think so. Rob talked about the 2-point percentage. Well, it's very clear. West Virginia is the number 1 team in the Big 12 in free throw rate. Baylor's 9. West Virginia gets to the line that many more times that then they get fouled, and Baylor doesn't. But Baylor, the back door is always open with them. They're number 233 in shooting free throws. If they get up big, they're not a real good free throw shooting team late. They haven't been in a lot of close games. I think that's going to be an issue for them again. I'll take West Virginia plus 4.5. And I actually put some on the money line as well for them to win outright.
All right. Look at that, Ralph. Big fan. West Virginia here tonight may very well be in the right here as, boy, oh, boy, at this time of year, March 2nd, what a great upset that might be. 4 points, though, currently is the line as it continues to inch up towards Baylor's way.
Joe, one more note for Huggins. This is just for our stat guys who like numbers. Mm-hmm. And Rob, you guys all know these names. Bobby Knight, Boeheim, Coach K were the first 3 to get to 900 wins. Roy Williams did it last Saturday against Florida State. Huggies at 898. So in 2 games, he's only going to be the 5th ever coach to get 900 wins.
Wow. It's been around. It just means he's old as ass. All right, let's go. Illinois versus Michigan. Let's check it out here, guys. What a game and battle this is going to be. This one opens up Michigan laying 8 total at 146.5 here. And Michigan, they're still trying to figure out in Indiana the license plate of the truck that just ran them over. That would be Michigan. Illinois lost to Michigan State, came back with a couple of pretty impressive wins without their best player. So, Rob, when you look at this game here tonight, obviously Michigan seems to be in peak form. Illinois got a chance in your mind?
Well, Ayu DeSumo obviously is the one exterior thing that you're worried about here. You don't know if he plays, guys. How does he play with a mask on? If in fact he wears the mask, I know he was fitted for one. I know Ralph had a little extra info on that when we were off air before. But you just don't know if he's going to have the same aggressiveness. A broken nose can, prevent you from doing some things that you would normally do, getting into the mix and whatnot. But I can't wait to see the matchup down low, guys. To me, that's where the game is. It's Kofi Coburn and Hunter Dickinson, those 2 guys, the 2 best big men inside the Big 10 conference this year. I don't know that there'll be a clear-cut winner in that battle, but I know in most of the games that these 2 teams play, those guys are dominant, and they're not likely to dominate their opponent here in this game, which brings it back to the surrounding parts. And I know Illinois has done well without DeSumo in the last 2 games. Credit to them. Credit to Brad Underwood, whose offense just gets better and better. Got some numbers here, guys. First on the Michigan defense. Michigan's defense has held 17 of their 20 opponents this year to 41% shooting or less. That's fantastic. So even though Illinois is a team that's been shooting real well as of late, they've gone over the 50% mark quite a bit in their last 8 games. So there's a clash there between Michigan defense and Iowa offense. There's a clash between Illinois. I said Iowa before, Illinois. That's what I meant. But there's a clash between Illinois up tempo and will Michigan go with them? I've looked at this total, Joe, and my first inclination was to play under, and I still might, because Michigan hasn't shown the tendency this season to want to run with people. They're an efficient offense. They like to slow the game down. And the Big Ten doesn't present many opportunities to run, right? Nebraska and Penn State are really the only two teams that want to get up and go aside from Illinois. So that'll be an interesting battle here tonight. What Underwood chooses to do, what Juwan Howard chooses to do. Biggest key to this game probably is the free throw line, where Michigan's outstanding. Michigan, how about their top 5 scorers all shoot 77% or better from the line? That includes Hunter Dickinson, who shoots 76.7, rounded off to 77% from the line. And on the other side, aside from Dosunmu and Trent Frazier, nobody really shoots. They don't have knockdown free throw shooters on Illinois. And in fact, Kofi Coburn leads the team in free throw attempts, and he's a 57% free throw shooter. A lot can be decided on the line here tonight. A lot of guesswork for me as far as who covers this number. Michigan's been dominant at home, but I still think it's going to stay under the total. I think the defenses, I don't want to disrespect Illinois' defense because I didn't talk about them a lot. That's a good defense. So perhaps we stay under 146 here in this game.
Yeah, Ralph, I mean, I'm seeing it open today. I'm seeing a lot of 6.5s on the board right now. So certainly some love heading towards Illinois' way. But what about this home court? Michigan has been beating people by an average of 17 points at home. Is there a home court advantage here in your mind?
Well, we've seen, the last couple of weeks, the home teams have had a little bit of an edge. So perhaps it's later in the season. Perhaps it's the familiarity. Perhaps it's the strain that some traveling gets later on in the year. I went to look up before the show. I went to the obviously, Illinois is in Champaign, Illinois, so I went to the Champaign newspaper, and there's a little picture of DeSomo on the court this morning. Brad Underwood's probably walking around with a big towel trying to block people from shooting if he's going to play or not. We could not see the picture if he had a mask or not. I think Michigan's a bit overrated because of the way they played a couple excellent games. You have to remember, they came back from a break, and they were a rested team that hadn't played in a long time. And it showed. Well, now we're catching up after a couple weeks, and they have that action under their legs. When the number first came out, if DeSomo was going to play, I liked it. With it down to 6.5, I still lean Illinois, but I'm going to do this. I am going to wait and make sure, number one, DeSomo plays okay with a mask. Number two, see if he has a mask. And to me, it'll be a live betting situation where I may jump on Illinois after a few minutes, seeing how they handle the initial rush of Michigan and how he looks in that spot.
Tony, it's hard to replace your star player averaging 21 points here. If he doesn't go, this is a really tough spot for Illinois. But how are you going to approach this game?
On the road in Ann Arbor, absolutely. It's Andre Curbelo who would take on a bigger role. He's actually the Big Ten Freshman of the Week, considering how well he played for Illinois to beat Wisconsin, and he averaged nearly a double-double, but with rebounds and not assists. But he is a good playmaker. Look, I'm with Rob in terms of the under here. I really am leaning that way, and I would say that I expect Dosunmu to play. I expect him to be wearing a mask, and then the news that he's going to be in probably 45 minutes before tip-off, if we're lucky, we'll probably push that total up. And then so I'll wait to bet it there, hopefully get it back up to 147, which is where it was earlier. I really trust Michigan's defense, particularly at home. They gave up 57 points to both Iowa and Indiana. And Iowa and Indiana both wanted to play through the post. Obviously, Iowa through Garza, Indiana through Jackson Davis, and Michigan withstood both challenges. This is Kofi Coburn, who's got Luka Garza's size and Trace Jackson Davis's explosiveness in one package, but you can double him better because he's not as adept a passer. So this is a smother situation for the Wolverines. They're obviously 12-0 at home at Chrysler. Only Bowling Green in that first game was the one team that eclipsed 71 points against them. So they're typically excellent at home. defensively. I'm going to ride with that as the key variable in this game. Hope the Sumu plays to get me a better line and ride the under. And just to interject one more Bob Huggins note, he was actually an assistant at UCF in 1983-84 before taking the Akron job. Little known fact there, because we like to educate the masses. That was when it was okay to call us Central Florida.
I love that. Yeah, before the national championship in football.
That's right.
Very excellent job. Yes, very, very good there. Guys, don't forget, it is $2 Tuesday at WagerTalk.com. Tony Mejia, he's your $2 handicapper right now. You can head over there, grab his best bet right now for $2. Just head over to his page at WagerTalk.com. NBA play coming up tonight. Going to be awesome. Make sure you're visiting Ralph. Make sure you're visiting Rob VENO as well. Just head over to WagerTalk.com. Let's make it a profitable Tuesday. Let's take a look at this Duke game, huh? Duke taking on Georgia Tech here. Opens up Georgia Tech with a little bit of love at 2.5, or 2 rather. I'm seeing 1.5 now across the board. 145.5 now. Also, the total has come down a little bit here. And Ralph, I'm coming to you here. We saw what happened where North Carolina last night lost to Syracuse with Duke on deck. It usually doesn't work out really well for Duke and North Carolina, the game prior to them playing one another. How much do you trust Duke in this matchup?
Well, if they want some bulletin board material, Moses Wright said, "We know we're the better team. We should have beaten them when they were Duke. We will get the dub tonight." So he's guaranteed the win. Duke, Georgia Tech's an historic area here. First time they're 3 games over 500 in ACC play in 25 years. So, and that's at 9-6. I love the way they're playing. I think they get the win tonight. You look at Duke, and while Duke's been impressive in their run they made, it's all been at home. After Jackson left, after Johnson left, they played at NC State and at Wake Forest. Then they had home games against Virginia, Syracuse, and Louisville. So this is the first time they're really going on the road against a winning opponent without him. I think Georgia Tech wins this game. I love the way they're playing offense. I love the way they're playing defense. You have a point guard like Alvarado that can handle the pressure and pressure people. But I will say this, to me, becoming a good winning team takes steps. They're making the step now where they're going to have a winning ACC record and they can win games at home. I think they're actually going to be a fade team when they get to the tournament, being put in a spot where they're actually going to be a favorite the first few rounds, something they're not accustomed to. So while I like them today and I like them at home, when they get on a neutral setting and perhaps as an away favorite, I may be looking to fade them down the road next week in the ACC tourneys.
Tony, they have been money. 10 out of 15 conference games, they've covered the number. So do you think we're talking about another cover here tonight? Did they get the job done?
Well, they hurt me, Joe. They really scarred me. I'm on a 9-1-1, 5% run, 11-2-1 on the season. That loss is Georgia Tech in Durham in a game I expected them to win up, with a couple minutes to go, up with a chance to win in the final possession, and they did not cover a 6-point spread. Winning the game in that final minute. It was on bad beats. It was terrible. And Alvarado, who played a tremendous game, actually turned it over late, so I really couldn't blame him. Duke stayed in the game because of Jalen Johnson, who's no longer there. Probably the best game Jalen Johnson played for Duke. He kept them in the game with 3-point plays down the stretch, really beat Moses Wright. I'm sure Moses Wright is ecstatic that he doesn't have to run into Jalen Johnson, and that's probably why he's so confident, because Duke had very little at home. DJ Stewart shot the ball pretty well, but it was one of those grinder games. Both teams played defense. I'm pretty sure the under hit rather easily, and Duke stole the game at the end. And Matthew Hurt hit a big shot, then he hit free throws. There were meaningless fouls. Anyway, I'm still scarred and upset about it. To answer your question, yes, Georgia Tech can win that game. Because Jalen Johnson isn't around, it's going to be interesting to see where they go for points consistently. Georgia Tech is a very good defensive team. They play it as a team, as a unit, extremely well. So we'll see. I mean, this is a really solid proving ground for Duke. without Johnson because they really haven't beaten many teams. The win over Syracuse was mildly impressive. And as far as Georgia Tech goes, prove it. Go win that game because you should have gotten it in Durham. So it's a big grow-up game for them to take them seriously going forward in the ACC and NCAA tournaments.
Yeah, I mean, Georgia Tech, Rob, amazingly enough, hard to beat at home. They've only lost one conference game at home here this year. It's certainly a short enough number. How are you looking at this tonight?
Yeah, and, in that first meeting that Tony was referencing, the fact that Jalen Johnson played in that game, had 18 points. The other really huge factor in that game was the 22-5 free throw advantage that Duke had in that contest that they turned into a plus 14 on the scoreboard, only won the game by 7. I don't know if they get that big of a free throw attempt margin in this particular contest. Duke had a streak of 6 consecutive games shooting over 50% from the field snapped on Saturday by Louisville. Not only did they not shoot 50%, shot 44, not terrible, but they only shot 19% from three-point range. So that was a very bad offensive game for Duke, which still resulted in 73 points scored for them. They've been an over machine lately, guys. I'll harken back to the very first time on this show we had Duke, and Coach K talked about his defense being ahead of the offense. Didn't believe it then, certainly don't believe it now, because today you read his quotes and he's asking his defense to do something. At this point, they can't do much of anything. Georgia Tech certainly has more weapons. Alvarado had a miserable game on Saturday. I think he only scored 4 points and he fouled out. So I'd expect him to bounce back here. Moses Wright did have 31 on Saturday. Maybe he's feeling his oats a little bit extra with that quote that he made, Ralph. But they've got the personnel right now. And as good as Duke has been shooting the ball, Georgia Tech has shot 50% or better in 5 of their last 7. They've had games where they have offensive outbursts. I would expect this to be one. I don't know that there's any way I could bet Duke at this point except over. There's a couple of concerns here for me. Number one, it is on the road, as Ralph mentioned. A lot of their overwork has been done at home lately, but they've shown the ability to go over the total without Johnson. I think that works on the defensive end, especially because they just have zero defense right now. And it's kind of like Matthew Hurt and a bunch of pieces trying to put things together, but they're able to generate points. They're able to give up points. And as far as side is concerned, I think you have to play Georgia Tech. I mean, nobody's going to feel sorry for Duke at this stage. Ralph mentioned 25 years since Georgia Tech has been 3 games over 500 in conference. You know what 25 years ago was? That was Lethal Weapon 3. Dennis Scott, Kenny Anderson, Brian Oliver. So that's a long, long time ago. Of course, I was pretty fond of that backcourt, but I think Georgia Tech comes through with a win here.
Wow, that's some classicness right there. All right, Georgia Tech it is. Guys, we got one more game here on the board we're going to break down for you. Plus, we got some best bets. We'll take a look at our Gold Sheet play of the day. But do not forget, $2 Tuesday right now. Tony Mejia's best bet up there for $2. Rob VENO, his card will be up, locked and loaded. Ralph's is up there, ready to rock and roll here tonight, guys. Just got to visit them right now at WagerTalk.com. Let's make it a profitable Tuesday. And let's take a look at this Alabama-Auburn matchup here. Opens up at Alabama 11.5. And then, of course, we see the total. Shocking that it's a high one there at 157. And I'm going to come back to you, Tony Mejia. Talk to me about this matchup. Auburn, it's been an absolute mess over the last month, although they did get a win somehow over Tennessee. Well, it was Tennessee, but this is it for them. Self-imposed sanctions, right? So we saw it with Arizona last night. They got really nothing else to play for here. How do you handicap this game tonight?
I'm going to guess that odds makers, when they went ahead and made this line, baked that Sharif Cooper absence right in there and don't expect him to play because it's 11 points is entirely too much if he's going to participate. And then so that makes me think, well, what are you trying to do to me here? Because I just saw Alabama fumble away a double-digit lead against Mississippi State. They pushed for me, didn't cover for many. The closing line was 6. It ended up being a 5-point game in Starkville where they opened 1 of 15 from 3-point range in the second half and missed bazillion layups. So are we going to see a crisper offensive performance at home? Yeah, certainly you expect that. Auburn's not a tremendous defensive team. Without Cooper, do they have a rudder? Now, they were just without Cooper against Tennessee and really dominated that game against a defense that everybody respects. But we've seen over the last month and a half that the balls are very shaky and flaky. So while impressive, now you've got to travel on the road to play a rival. And we've got Alan Flanagan and Devin Cambridge who are going to play heightened roles if Cooper doesn't play. Both those guys are sophomores. They look the part. They're decent, but then you have Alabama's depth to wear you down, where you can't foul, where they're not going to have any sympathy for you, no matter how nice Bruce Pearl has been with his comments towards Nate Oates this week. It's still Alabama-Auburn, and Alabama's the better team. So do we see absolutely no mercy in a 15-point game? Possibly, especially with no Cooper. So I really don't know where to go here, because even if Cooper plays, is he shaky? How's that ankle? Probably going to be a pass for me. But certainly looking at the number, it's higher than I anticipated. Usually when that happens, you get a blowout of epic proportions, and Alabama wins by 15 plus, especially coming off such a shoddy offensive performance at Mississippi State.
Rob, how do you look at this game? Because I'm already tired the game hasn't started watching it, because the pace of these two teams is just going to be ridiculous. And the number hasn't moved a lot, 157 right now for a total. Are you looking at the side, or are you looking at the total in this one?
Wait, this was the game, I believe, guys, where Sharif Cooper made his entrance onto the Auburn squad, and they almost won that game. It was 94-90 Alabama. Neither team shot good from three. But as you mentioned, Joe, the pace was so Greyhound-like that they were able to get to 184 points. The problem with trying to play over here in this game is Auburn. Their offense has just been miserable from the field in their last 5 games. 40%, 35.3, 37, 41, and 35.6. Just not shooting the basketball well. They're up and down like a seesaw with these performances. As you said, the Tennessee victory, outright win, came out of left field. Nobody really expected that. I guess my first note on this game was, is there really an emotional edge in this game? It's been brought up already in this discussion that Auburn has nothing to play for. Or excuse me, Auburn has everything to play for because they have nothing in the postseason. But it's still Auburn, Alabama, guys. Just because Alabama clinched the SEC #1 seed on Saturday and they poured champagne all over Nate Oates, I don't think that means Alabama doesn't show up here. So I think if I had to play just based on personnel of these two teams at this point in time, and with Alabama having the one opportunity already to see Cooper, even if this is assuming he does play tonight, to see Cooper and to get lit up by Cooper, I don't think they would let that happen again. If he doesn't play, the advantage is even bigger. To me, I like what Tony said last, because I use this an awful lot in my handicapping, is when teams do something really, really well for the majority of the season, and then they don't do it well, like Alabama didn't play offense well on Saturday, I expect a bounce back. So I think Alabama probably makes their way to 85 points and covers the 11.5.
Ralph, how do you handicap the motivation in this one? Does it come into play for you, knowing what these two teams are fighting for in this matchup tonight?
I think it is the big deal that Alabama clinched the #1 and celebrated. It's Alabama, Auburn, and, we know, Ohio State, Michigan, and Alabama, Auburn means something. But, to lay double digits on the road, I'm just not going to do it. Cooper made the trip. He didn't practice on Saturday. He said they're going to see how he feels today in pre-games and see if he goes. I lean Auburn, and, it's a game that I will be paying attention to. I'll be on Twitter right before when they start warming up to see what they say. And, if Cooper plays, it'll turn into a bet for me. But I still lean the Auburn Tigers to have some pride in this game and finish. Alabama, I think, you have these two games. You have this game and you're one on deck. And I think what you do is, you have your seniors night. You celebrated the #1. Now you have your seniors night today. Then you have the one more game at Georgia to warm up. I think you play a few extra guys and you let them try to get some minutes before you go in. So I will gladly take Auburn as the 11+ point road dog and think they keep it close. If Cooper plays, I will say this: if Cooper warms up, I might lean more towards the first half, and that's sort of contradictory to what I said because I think Alabama might play some players, but I think Auburn can have some motivation, come out early, and give them a punch with Cooper in. So if Cooper plays, I'm going to play first half. Otherwise, I lean Auburn for the game.
All right, good stuff there. 4 great games on the board here tonight, guys, and we got some best bets coming up. We'll want to start with our good friends from the Gold Sheet and see what they've got to say here tonight on the board and the card. And it looks like they're going to go Youngstown State, Oakland over in a matchup here today, Ralph. And I don't know, MEJIA, the handwriting look familiar here?
Oh, no, but I'm familiar with the prediction. I've seen it. It's an interesting one because the Horizon League is in its conference tournament. Conference tournament betting is even better than regular season betting and probably better than NCAA tournament betting because everybody's facing elimination, and you get to see whether teams fold or not. It's completely different than the NCAA's because, yeah, you're facing elimination, but you've already won a conference tournament, half those teams, or you're already a quality team. Here you get the guys fighting for scraps, trying to stay alive. It's a great dynamic.
All right, like the over at the Gold Sheet there, guys. Youngstown State, Oakland over here today. And now let's start with you, Tony. I'm coming back to you, man. Talk to me. Best bet of the day. What do you got circled on the card for us?
Well, my best bet for the show is also my free play at wt.buzz/TM, and it is UCF against Tulsa. The Knights probably lead the country in same-day cancellations. And they were getting ready to play against the Owls, Temple Owls on Sunday, and Temple had something come up in their program. They were down at South Florida a few days prior. Maybe they took in the sights too much here in the Sunshine State. But bottom line is they had to cancel that game, 3rd time this season for the UCF. So they'll have fresh legs as Tulsa comes into town. And Tulsa is potentially playing, I read this, Kelly Hines in the Tulsa World, this is probably going to be their last real regular season game because they don't expect to play Cincinnati and they don't expect to play a scheduled game against SMU. They've actually scheduled a Thursday game against Division II Northeastern State. So both of these teams potentially view this as their final tune-up before the American Athletic Conference tournament, even though both have games scheduled going forward. It's just been that chaotic for both of these programs. And if you see Frank Haith, Johnny Dawkins games, you know that we might get a 4-2 game as the first media timeout rolls around. I mean, like, legitimately going to start slow. So you might want to bet just the first half. I'm going full game. It's at 130.5. But I fully expect 60-57, 62-58, that type of game, as opposed to something that tops 130.
I'm looking at UCF game canceled here, there. No, I'm only kidding. It's not canceled. You're good to go. Go ahead, Rob. Rob VENO, talk to me. Are we going Duke? What are we doing here, Rob? Help us out.
Yeah, everybody that watches us on Tuesdays knows that I always pick one game from the 4 that we discuss, and I'm going right to that game, Joe. I'm going to play Georgia Tech here as the best bet. I just think that there's a little bit of a revenge angle from that first game for Georgia Tech. As we sit here right now in March, we still don't trust Duke. And Georgia Tech is the better team at this point in time. They've been red hot offensively for the most part. I think Duke might be a hair bit tired and fatigued at this point. So I think Georgia Tech will take full advantage from the opening tip. It's a very small price to lay. So I'll go ahead and lay it with Georgia Tech at home here, a team that's just 2 teams just going to me 2 different directions. Could also get over the number, but I'd prefer to play the Georgia Tech side. And real quick, since I didn't add my piece to the fluid discussion, and Ralph has German beer covered, and Tony has Colombian coffee covered, you know, I would have to have Italian wine covered easily in this discussion.
Love that. I love that. We're going to have to get a selection from you in just a minute there, Rob. So now you're going to have to make a recommendation here. Ralph, come on, man. Where are we going here tonight? I'm sensing Michigan. I don't know why, but go ahead.
First, Tony, do you think Frank Haith said, I'm 10-10. If I lose to UCF, that makes me 10-11. I want to schedule a Division II team to get to 500, and then I'll just cancel the tournament. I'll say I have COVID to make sure I don't have a losing record this year. So,
not a bad way to go.
Possibly.
Yeah, that's a hell of an idea.
He's done worse.
Yeah, amen.
You don't want that losing year. I'm going to go to the Horizon. The gold sheet's at the Horizon, and do note that the first round of the Horizon. This is actually the second round, but they are still homes. They'll play neutral the last couple games, but I'm going to go with Detroit on the road. I look at their point production. It's better. They were 9-1 straight up in ATS their last 10. They have the best player on the court with Davis, who's the second leading scorer. If he puts up 40 tonight, he'll probably catch him and be the leading scorer. So all that, the way Detroit Mercy's playing, they win tonight in advance.
Love that. They have been absolute money, by the way, on the road there. Love that play. I'm going senior night. Give me Bowling Green here, laying 5 at a little revenge spot against Miami of Ohio in this one. They are on fire. They've been steamrolling teams here over the last couple of weeks. So I'm going to take Bowling Green for senior night, laying the 5.5. Let's check it out one more time. Best bet recaps. Ralph going to Michigan. He's going to Detroit on the road. Laying 1. Rob VENO, he's going Georgia Tech, 1.5 at home against Duke. Tony Mejia, if it doesn't get canceled, Tulsa, UCF under 130, and that's going to be like watching paint dry. Bowling Green, 5.5, and of course our friends at the Gold Sheet, Youngstown State, Oakland over the 151.5. And Rob VENO, what is your recommendation for Italian wine, my friend?
Wow. Well, do you want to go cheap or expensive? I would say right in the middle. How about Massey? Massey is a wonderful Italian wine that, I don't like stuff that's really harsh that gives me heartburn, although true Italians do love that stuff. But Massey goes down pretty smooth. So I would recommend that. It's Massey. Massey.
Hey, Rob, if we all win our best bets today, are you going to buy us Opus 1?
Ooh.
If we all win our best bets?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. If we all win, salute to us.
Done. Love it. Way to get a free drink out of it, Ralph. Way to go here. Don't forget, guys, Tony Mejia, $2 handicapper today at WagerTalk.com. Go get his best bet right now, NBA, for $2. And make sure you hang around here. In just about 20 minutes or so, we'll get the NBA tip-off show going. Tony Mejia will be on that as well. But right now, head over. Rob will be locked and loaded here for tonight, as is Ralph Michaels. Visit their pages at WagerTalk.com. Also, hit that bell in the upper right-hand corner. Subscribe to the page. Make sure you come back and join us again tomorrow as we get ready to break down the college basketball slate. So on behalf of Tony Mejia, Rob VENO, and Ralph Michaels, guys, best of luck with your plays tonight. Make sure you come back and visit us again tomorrow. Cheers. We'll see you then.